What I started to study about 10 years ago when I got into real estate was land policy. When I finally understood and educated myself with it, I decided to go into land banking. That land banking has assisted Wonda World Company to be able to go into a lot of developments in a go. Currently, we have maybe 5 to 6 projects. I studied one thing about real estate. It has 3 rules. Rule number 1 is location. Rule number 2 is location. Rule number 3 is location. Osu is like Oxford Street of London. In Ghana, when they say Osu, you're going to Oxford Street. So I went for the location, and I went for the number 1 location. Number 1 Oxford Street. It's the first building in Ghana that is actually offering a retail, residential, and also have like 2-3 floors of underground car park. We're talking to Buddha Bar currently. We're talking to Zara. We're talking to international, high street brands and, corporate brands that could be part of this. And we want people to have this quality of life within that area and within the building as well. Qualis is also a very interesting project. This project is named after my mother. It is honor to her. That alone made me feel like I have to put the best components in the world on this building. I have to find the best architect. The architect I got from South Africa, and I asked him that do something that has never been done. I chose a contractor from Germany who was part of one of the designers of R8 Audi. And that's the guy that actually brought the vectogram on the building. Fully furnished, and it has from studio to 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom and 3 bedroom. It has a penthouse filled with roof bars and roof gardens and sky bars and so forth. So it's been professionally, skillfully executed, and the intentions are very high, so quality is guaranteed. And I believe that that's what we are selling as Wonda World. We want to make sure that that quality is guaranteed. You get your money's worth.
I am Pachi, I'm from Spain. I am the new project manager from the Qualis Apartments. All my experience is in Spain, around 50 years old. It's a big experience. I done very different projects, hotel, a museum, tunnel, roads, buildings. I think this is a big project, this is a big country, there are a lot of possibilities here. I feel very good here.
I believe that to be able to skillfully execute any of our projects would be based on a group or a team of designers, procurement a group, and all these people that will be able to get us the right materials to use and make sure that quality control is in check. By doing so, we normally go to the main suppliers. Same thing with other companies that we're working with, like Porcelanosa. We make sure that from the bath to the towels to the sink to every single thing, sanitary ware in the building or in the project would come from one company. Because today, people are not only buying homes, they're buying homes with brands. Vineyard in Cantonments. I looked around the whole Cantonments. Cantonments it's probably the most residential area for me in Ghana. It has this private feel. It's very good, but I chose a very bold color, bold planning right there. An underground for 26 cars, only 3 floors, but 25 apartments. Thanks to Cavallero. David actually put the first concept together, David Ajay, who I was discussing with. He came up with the concept, and I said, that's it. This is like a wine glass, or a glass of wine. So, it's all wine color, but it had a plain glass around it, so that was how the inspiration came up, and we decided to call it the Vineyard. A lot of people are not interested in funding projects in Africa, in the past 5 years. They are more interested in funding projects which are more to do with extraction of resources rather than development of infrastructures. So for me, I didn't think that it made sense trying to prove to them that it's worth your while to put money into development. What I thought that it would be good for me to actually create worth a portfolio of developments that will prove to them that this is lucrative. Wonda World is open for investors from outside. We believe that that would actually push us and actually increase the capacity that we already have on ground.
New Africa Construction is a Ghanaian company building between myself and Mr. Nana that we are prepared here for this project and for the next projects that Mr. Nana wants to build.
Behind every vision there is an imagination. Imagine a new Africa, a continent of opportunities. Welcome to the new Africa, Petronia City. At the heart of Ghana's oil-rich western region is a 2,000-acre master-planned city. Within Petronia City is Africa's first energy city, a free zone enclave, manufacturing hub, the oil and gas university, a golf village with an 18-hole world-class golf course, and more. Explore more. Visit petroniacity.com. Petronia City, building the new Africa.
Hi.
Anna, how are you?
Very well.
Good. Tell us a little bit about where we are right now.
This is Wonda World. This is one of our projects, and it's called Avenue Lincoln.
Okay.
Avenue Lincoln. Lincoln is my son.
Oh.
And the day I bought this land, that very day, right when I was doing the transaction, I got a phone call saying you have a son, and he's called Lincoln. So I decided to name this project after him. So it's called Avenue Lincoln. But basically, this is one of the projects that I do. What I intended to do with this, I wanted to change the trend and the scale of market that we already had in Ghana. So I decided to go to 3 floors instead of 2 floors for the first time. And that gave me the opportunity to turn it into a multi-purpose home.
Wow.
In the sense that I realized on the market, the demand was more like apartments, office spaces, and maybe townhouses. So that's what you see. I've got all the 3 in one look.
Every single one of these apartments is taken, it's rented out.
Well, yes, some are rented, some are sold. That's what I do. I rent, I sell.
Okay. And how much is this estate worth?
It cost me about 8 million to develop it, and after that it's probably worth 50 million.
Wow.
So it's like 80 to 90% profit.
Wow. So living here, would you say there are millionaires here, and would you consider yourself as one?
Well, I think definitely you should be a millionaire to be able to buy a house that is almost $1 million. And for me, I had always not wanted to be or consider myself as a millionaire. I always wanted to make more millionaires than I could make for myself, and I just probably ended up being one. I'm lucky.
And are you motivated by money?
It's the motive. Subjectively, it should be the motive. I mean, I once told somebody that how long do they stay in church for to worship God? And he said the most is 5 hours. And then I asked them that, do you know how many hours you work in a week? And then they said, some said 52, some said 60 something. And I asked them, so who do you worship? It's not like I'm saying it's not in a form of blasphemy, but I just feel like money is a necessity, and it takes care of us, the people around us, society, and you should have that respect for money. Not to misuse it, but rather to use it right so you can get more back. That's all it is, and I think it's God's given.
Definitely, I agree. Well, since we're here, why don't you show me around?
Sure. You're invited.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's a very simple plan. It's this is the kitchen, it's open. This is the dining, is also open. You walk in and you walk into the living room, basically. Under here, it's all like cameras and all sort of DSTV wiring, everything comes out here. And this is another entrance to the house. So you have the garage, which you can just drive in and come through here. You have guest toilets and other stuff right here. And this is the living room. It's very simple. We're not trying to be so. It's very simple because that's how we want to leave it. But the good thing is that you have a backyard, which is also, you have a garden, your garden chairs, you can have your grills there and everything. Everything, yes. And you have like 3 floors up. So you go to the first floor. So these are just bedrooms, and you know, it all comes with
Ensuite?
yeah, they're all en suite. Ooh, it smells.
Nice.
But it comes with jacuzzis and
Wow.
and stuff like that.
Nice.
Oh my. These are like also rooms for guests or kids, and you have like your shower in here. And this room brings you to the other room. You know, so for your guests or your kids, however you want to use it. And then it brings you back out again.
Back out.
Then you can go to another floor again. This is also like another master bedroom. It has a walk-in closet, and you have another sort of bathroom here that can be used. So you can basically stay up here if you want to without having to come to the other floors.
Nice. Oh, okay. It's an office space. Excellent.
Yeah. So you see what's you see what's going on through here.
So there's a balcony now.
Use the other. Woo. So this is basically the open balcony. Is like the boss's balcony.
Wow.
This is like you see everywhere, and you know. So
How do
basically,
you feel when you see your work?
well, this is something that I don't like to say, but whatever I've done already, it's nothing anymore. I'm only worried about what I'm about to do. I like to think about what I'm going to do next. You know, this is done. I mean, I learned this from Warren Buffett. He said that, don't worry about what you did last year. Worry about what you're about to do this year.
One of the good things about working in Petronia is the opportunity to work with a very young and vibrant team. We having a young team is an advantage because such people or young ones want to explore, and they are imaginative about the things they do. And with that, we're able to do things that are not just local, but things that can go on the international level.
Working in Ghana, how difficult do you find it working with your own people? As you know, you've been to London, you've been to different countries. How do you find it?
It's also difficult for me to say. It's very hard to work with Ghanaians, but then again, that's the truth. Not because they're Ghanaians, but because they're not enlightened enough. They don't have much experience, and they also don't have the environment where the system is in place for them to do the right thing. But it's also interesting for us, the businessmen, because then you can see that gap to be bridged. And that is something that you can take advantage of. You know, making people all over again to build new things, to create new things, and create new opportunities. So for me, I think it's very difficult to work in Ghana. But if you're able to break through, then your success will definitely be enormous. It will be something different.
So how do we break through? Because it's obviously it's difficult, like you said. How does one actually, you know, you've kind of done it in a way. So how did you kind of maintain that and working with?
One of the things that I think made me the person I've become the most, it's just me making sure that whatever that is impossible, I should find solutions and ways to make it possible. That's one of the key things. However, it's more easier when you break through things that are difficult to start with. It just, you move a bit faster. I would have probably not in a million years do what I'm doing in Ghana, in England. it wouldn't have worked. And it took me to take this decision to become who I am today, because I saw it ahead of me that, yeah, maybe you should jump from here and go there and start this. I mean, the beginning of my life in Ghana was very lonely, very difficult, but then that was the decision I had taken and I had to make it work. So there were things like dedication, passion, things, you know, little things that people don't actually consider to be anything. These were the things that I thought I had already invested my time in, and I have to make it happen.
Tell me about your time in Ghana, because your kind of entrepreneurial spirit started from there, with the chickens. Tell me about the chicken story.
That's a very interesting question. Leadership is not an art. It's just a mindset. You know, when you feel like you know more about tomorrow, and if you feel like you can make tomorrow become a better day and make the world become a better place, automatically people will start to follow you. This is what leadership is. It's like you know about tomorrow. And I feel like when I was young, I always used to sacrifice for my friends. Even if I had the last pesos, I would buy ice cream and give it to them. You know, my last money, I wanted to give it to my mom because I thought she was poor. My father was very rich. My mom was penniless, broke. And when I had the chance to live with my father, any boy my age at that time would have probably thought it would be a better idea to go with my father because he had all that I needed. But I also thought that if my mom doesn't have anything, maybe all she has is me, so I'm not leaving her, you know. So it was more like thinking backwards, and through that, this sort of thinking made me, because I had a brother who was older than me. My father gave us money one day, and we were supposed to put the money together and give it to my mother, and he went to buy eggs with it. Wow. Eggs and bread. Well, it was kind of luxurious for him at that time. But my anger sort of quenched my hunger. You know, I was like, wow, how did he get that egg? Why did he have to go and use the money on eggs? So I just decided to get my own eggs, and that's what this whole thing came up with. I spent the money for one hen, one chicken. One hen, one cock. And they became hundreds. I mean, in the next 5 years, no, in the next 3 years, these things would take care of me, my mother, and my brother. Yeah, I didn't realize that it was a movement until I grew up. You know, you get to realize that you have something in you, and you just have to work on it. And I think we all do. It doesn't matter whether you're a cameraman, you sell tomatoes, or you're president. It's something that is in you that God gives us. And once you tap into that quality, you have to appreciate it and work on it more. These are the things that I look back on that makes me take a harder decision, like walking away from all my friends and going to another country so I can make it from there. You know, like trying to do something that society is not ready to even do for society. You know, just standing out on my own, on a stage alone, in front of millions of people, and I still want to perform.
You mentioned about feeling lonely. At what point in your life did you feel lonely?
I've always been, and I feel like I will always do. The best times in your life is when you're alone. I don't know if you heard the phrase when people say it's lonely at the top. It's because when you get to the top, nobody's there with you. There's only a few that think like us. And many people want to do what we do, but only a few end up doing what we do. And that's because it's very lonely there. And most critical decisions, most successful decisions are taken alone and then discussed later. And I grew up to understand that. I probably have thousands of friends. When I go out, I have to shake maybe thousands of people's hands. And that's because I don't discriminate. I feel like all human beings are the same, but it's very good to always be in your own shell, because all you have is you, and what comes out of you is what they see. So it's very good to be lonely. In
London, you also started a scrap yard business. Tell us a little bit about that.
Wow, that's very interesting. This is something that my friends never knew about me. I would always play in the hood, like me, and I'll always go out there as a different person. And these things, they're the things that have actually made me, because I sort of understood everybody within all the terrains. And I realized when I was growing, understanding is wisdom. You just need to understand people. People wouldn't understand you, but it's okay, you understand them. This is how I came across my stool business. I once was very, very stubborn in college. I only did things that the security didn't want me to do. And one day they clamped my car. In fact, I was the only guy that was driving in the college at that time. Yeah, so it was 1994. There was no mobile phones. I was 16 and I had a car and a mobile phone. So these guys weren't really happy with me. You know, they tried to give me a tough time. But there was a guy, Mark, that clamped my car. And I was watching him whilst he clamped the car. So I kept quiet about it. And when he left, I went to ease the air from the tie, just so I can get a clamp off foot. He didn't know that. I knew it from where I was coming from. Wow. But out of anger, I decided to keep the clamp. So I took it away. Yes. And I knew what I did was wrong. I wanted to confess to somebody. The closest guy that I could confess to was my friend. He was white, a white guy. His name is Peter Smith. And funny enough, he was a locksmith at that time. So I went to him and said, hey, this guy's clamped my car, and you know, I got angry, so I've taken the clamp. It's in my car. He said, where's the clamp? I said, it's in my car. Then he said, let's go see it. Then I went to show him the clamp. He picked it and took it in and put it on a scale. And he said, I'll pay you £65. I said, £65? But it cost me £40 to release the clamp. Why do you want to pay more money even for the clamp? And he said, well, that's the value of this steel. So straight away I woke up. I was like, wow, I need steel to make money. And you know, the rest is history, because Peter Smith would realize that I brought so much scraps to him that one day he simply said to me, Jeff, I can't buy from you again. Let me take you to the people that buy from me so you can sell straight to them. So he took me to like the biggest yard where they started buying scraps in bulk metal. Yeah. He couldn't take it again. I mean, he was just a locksmith. What he was using, what I was selling to him for, was to build safes and sell. I went past it. Now, I only want to say this about the scrap because whatever you want to do in life, there is a limit and there is something beyond the limit. That's when you see success. It's not the limit. You know, when you have a limited company, it's just an introduction. When the company becomes limitless, then you've been introduced to the world. So I was being more introduced to society, knowing that a single piece of metal or a little piece of metal on the floor can add up to something to make money. You know, and I couldn't also tell my friends that go and do this and it'll make you money. I just had to do what they do so we can get on. Yeah. But then when I come out, I knew that I had business and I needed to take care of that business. So I will go to scrap yards, I'll buy scrap cars, I'll buy any scrap metal that I get, and I would put it in bulk and then distribute it and sell it. And through that, I grew because I got to get into telecommunication business at a very early age, and also find out about fashion buying. Little things, you know, the money started sort of working for me. This is good and it's also bad. This made me drop out of university one day because I thought that if I'm going to go to university to go and get a good job after and do business, then why am I here? Because I'm already doing what I'm supposed to be doing after the degree. So it kind of brought me out of school early. So this is the bad side of it, and you have to make it become good.
Wonda World for Ghana is adding to the real estate boom. We see a lot of buildings, but most of it is concrete. And what Wonda World is trying to do is to get away from that set. We don't just want to build boring buildings, we want to build exciting buildings. We want to build buildings you see on the cover of international magazines. We want to bring that sort of life into Ghana. In doing that, we feel we are changing Africa as a whole.
Petronia City will be a very good framework for future African cities, because not only are we considering the individual buildings, as most cities in Africa currently are, but we're really considering everything that has to do with proper city planning, infrastructure, energy, and the rest. So it's really a good project for the future of Africa and Ghana.
We have a really great team in-house, as well as contractors and consultants that we work with from around the world. So it's been an amazing opportunity to work with so many people who have so much knowledge and experience to bring to the project.
How many properties? Is it 16 that's here?
Yes, this is 16.
Okay.
Again, this is a very good maximization because slightly above 1.5 acre, it's impossible for you to put 16 houses. So that's why for the first time I decided to go to 3 floors higher.
Okay.
And that sort of gave me more square meter spaces. And also it cost me a little bit more than the usual price. So what happened after I finished this development, everybody in Ghana, from the Tasex to whatever, you know, big developers that are here, they also started doing 3 floors. I forced them to change the market. And then people used to sell houses like 500,000, 550, 600. I just came and pushed it up to 800, 850. I'm sure the next thing is probably going to be $1 million and more, and we're growing. We keep growing.
So what about, like you said, you want to kind of give other people the opportunity to be able to buy. Not everybody can afford $1 million or 800. So what about those people that could probably afford 100 or 200?
Well, I'm definitely thinking about the middle income and the low income. But the thing is, it's much more expensive to do this development than people think it is. Okay, you first of all need to put a basic infrastructure together. You need about 100 to 200 acres of land. And to put the basic infrastructure together on a 200-acre land alone will cost you maybe $5 to $10 million before you start putting the blocks. And it has to be misused, it has to be done right, it has to be sustainable environment, it has to be suitable, you know, it has a lot of collectives. So for me, I think it's more to do with capital intensive. And today I'm doing $1 million homes in the prime areas. It doesn't mean that's all I ever want to do. I'm very interested in the other things. Of course, I'm thinking about people even buying homes for 100,000 or 50,000. The thing is, the government doesn't have any credit platform that will assist these people. So how can I go and invest $40 million when the government doesn't have a system in place? I mean, if you look at England, they have like the council tax, and the council tax is helping people to get council homes when they don't have that, you know. So you need all these channels of credit in place. The government doesn't have it. Now, we're not saying that we will never do it, but if the government doesn't have it, then we have to find a way to build these structures before we actually put that investment for the middle income and the low income people. You know, I think a lot of people have tried and they have done a lot of unsuccessful projects. I like to make a change. If I'm going to do it, I make sure I do it right.
Very popular.